Good day everyone, my name is Jelly Rodriguez and we are the Group 4. Today, we will be presenting about identifying students who are gifted and talented. Before we begin, let's watch a short clip from the movie Gifted. This might give us a glimpse of what gifted might look like in real life context.
3 plus 3? Really?
I beg your pardon?
What kind of school is this anyway?
It's the kind of school where students don't speak without permission.
Alright, but everyone knows it's 6.
Nobody in this classroom speaks unless they are called upon. Okay, is everybody clear on that?
Yes, ma'am!
Good. Barry, can you stand up, please? Stand on up. Stand up, babe. These questions are for you because you're so advanced. What is 9 plus 8?
17.
Yeah, yes, it is. That's good. What is 15 plus 17?
32.
Yeah, that is right. All right, then. Well, what is 57 plus 135?
192.
Can you tell me what 57 multiplied by 135 is? Okay. Who can tell me what?
7,695. The square root is 87.7. No change. Now what does ad nauseam mean?
Now, let's know the importance of identifying students who are gifted and talented. Identifying giftedness early is important for many reasons. First is timing for education. It helps to decide the best time for a child to start school or advanced programs. For example, in Gifted, Mary was doing advanced calculus at just 7 years old. She wasn't challenged in regular class. Early identification helped to decide whether she should be in regular school or attend gifted programs. Second is collaborative learning. Teacher and parents can work together to support the child's needs. Third is avoiding boredom. Gifted kids often get bored in regular classroom. For example, in the movie, Mary was clearly bored in her school when she asked to do basic math, as we can see in the video earlier. She became frustrated not because she is lacked of discipline, but because she wasn't being challenged. So, early identification will help to avoid this. Last is identifying interest. This helps to spot special talents such as in sports or arts and give them proper support. For example, in the movie, Mary wasn't only good at math, she also had a love for animals and a sense of justice. Gifted kids have a intense interest that can lead to advanced skills beyond academics. Next is the two main methods of identifying gifted and talented children. First is informal identification. It means recognizing giftedness in children without using formal tests. Instead of standardized assessment, it relies on everyday observation and personal notes. This method does not require professional. It usually done by parents, teachers, or caregivers who observe the child in daily life. Second is the formal identification. It is the process of recognizing giftedness in child through standardized testing and assessment. This typically involves using specific tests designed to measure cognitive ability, academic skills, and creativity. This method is administered by professionals such as educational psychologists, school testing coordinators, and gifted programs evaluators. So to sum it up, informal methods show us how child learns, and formal methods show us what they are capable of. Together, they can give a complete picture of gifted learner. Now, let's discuss the informal identification. As I've said earlier, informal identification means recognizing giftedness in child based on daily observation, interaction, and evidence of advanced behavior without relying on formal tests. First, it includes observation. It can be done by watching how the child or the students play, speak, or solve problems or interact with others. Also, we can look for signs like advanced vocabulary, strong memory, curiosity, or creativity. It helps spot gifted traits even before formal testing is possible, especially in young age. specifically at age 3 to 6. At this age, children are usually too young for most standardized tests, especially IQ test, which more accurate after age of 6. So informal observation is main way to recognize giftedness early. Second is documentation. We can keep samples of child's work like drawings, writings, or schoolwork. Also, we can record behaviors or skill through videos or journals. Also, by taking notes on how quickly the child's learn or what topic interests them. It helps the teachers and parents adjust activities or offer them challenges or provide materials that match their abilities. Third is use of checklists. Teachers or parents use giftedness checklists to track traits like learning speed, emotional intensity, or leadership. When enough informal signs are observed, this information can use to request formal testing or entry into gifted programs. Next is formal identification. It means recognizing giftedness through standardized testing and assessment. It commonly conducted by trained professionals. The type of test that used in formal identification is IQ test. For example, WISC, Stanford Binet, Raven Progressive Matrices, and it is best for kids over 6 years old, but some can take them as early as 4. Next is aptitude test. For example, COGAT or cognitive ability test, which measures reasoning, logic, and learning potentials. This commonly done in schools. Next is academic achievement test. This test measure what child already knows academically. It shows achievement in reading, math, and writing. It helps to place students at the right level. Next, or the last one, is off-level testing. This testing is designed for older children to see how far ahead they are. And for example, a grade 4 student is taking a grade 6 math test, and if he score or if she score highly, they will be placed in advanced math group. Now, let's talk about the common characteristics of students who are gifted and talented. First, they understand material above their age level. For example, 6 years old students read character book meant for 10-year-old, or they grasp science concept beyond their grade level. Next is they shows emotional depth and sensitivity. For example, a child becomes deeply concerned about fairness, poverty, or the environment, even at very young age. And next is they have strong curiosity and unique interest. For example, a child may obsessively explore dinosaur, space, or coding. They also ask advanced questions that no one expects from their age group. Next is they display creative problem-solving skills. For example, the child finds original, out-of-the-box way to solve puzzles or daily challenges that often adults don't expect. And next is they absorb information quickly with little repetition. For example, they might only need to hear instruction once or read something once to remember it and apply it. Last is they are socially and globally aware. For example, they show empathy for the world issues, talk about global topics, or ask questions about culture, injustice, or war. Now, let's move on to profound traits. When we say profound, they are the extraordinarily advanced. First is they have rapid comprehension. It means they understand complex ideas mostly instant. For example, they learn math concept after single explanation. There is no repetition needed. And next is they have intuitive understanding of basic. It means they grasp fundamental concept without needing to be taught step by step. For example, they learn to read or mental math without formal instruction. Next is they have tendency towards complicity, meaning they prefers advanced layered topic or multi-step challenges. For example, they create board games with rules, storylines, and strategy at the age of 7, something like that. And number 4 is they need precision. It means they insist on accuracy and clarity in information and communication. For example, they often correct adults when facts are slightly off, or becomes frustrated by vague instructions. Last is they have high expectation. They hold themselves and often others a very high standard. For example, they become upset with 98% score test, or when group project doesn't meet their vision, something like that. And last is divergent interest. They have divergent interest. They deeply have curiosity about many unrelated or advanced topic. For example, they equally interested in black holes, ancient mythology, and politics all at once.
Good day everyone, my name is Christian Esaberon and I will be discussing consideration for identifying giftedness. So let's proceed. So yung giftedness is hindi pare-pareho sa lahat ng tao or ng individual or ng isang learner. Hindi pwedeng may standard or sabihin na nating assessment na dapat ma-meet ng learner kasi meron niyang iba't ibang giftedness ang bawat isa. So, kailangan may flexible and broad yung assessment para ma-identify ng giftedness ng isang bata. For example, may 2 students. Si student 1 is kayang-kaya sagutan yung mahirap na problem sa math compare sa other classmates niya. While si student 2 naman is hindi ganun kagaling academically but nag-excel siya sa music and arts. So, kung yung assessment na gagawin is nakafocus lang sa academic, hindi mako-consider si student 2 as gifted, di ba? Kaya nga dapat importante na maging flexible and malawak yung mga paraan or yung mga assessment sa pag-identify ng giftedness ng individual para matukoy yung iba't ibang talents and yung mga kakayahan ng mga mag-aaral. Hindi lang dapat nakabatay sa standardized test kundi pati na rin sa performance-based assessments, portfolios, and observations upang mabigyang halaga ang bawat isa, lalo na if iba-iba sila ng giftedness na meron. So, next. So, ito yung objectives na kailangang ma-reach or yung kailangan nating ma-meet after ng discussion. So, let's proceed. First, considerations in identifying the giftedness of the children or of an individual. So, giftedness is dynamic and not static. So first, being gifted is dynamic, not static. Dynamic means nagbabago, right? So yung pagiging gifted daw is nagbabago, or in layman's term is na-enhance. Hindi lang dapat masabing gifted ang isang student dahil sa isang assessment lang, or kasi possible na they are not gifted na in a certain situation or certain area. Like kanina, si student 1, academically gifted. Si student 2 naman is music and arts siya gifted. So dahil doon, need na patuloy na pag-guide and pag-e-enhance sa kanila para mag-excel pa sila lalo sa mga different fields kung saan sila gifted or saan sila magaling. Next naman is representations across groups. So, to sum this up, yung pagiging gifted is for all. Like, even if magaling ka sa ibang lahi, ibang place na iba yung culture, tsaka if mayaman ka or mahirap, possible kang maging gifted. Pero may mga issues pa rin, like may mga group or group ng learners na hindi nabibigyan ng pagkakakilanlan as gifted kasi nga walang program or kulang sa program about sa giftedness. For example ulit, may 2 students na parehong gifted pero magkaiba ng antas ng pamumuhay. So, si student 1 is mayaman. May access sa quality education, may tutor, and may extracurricular activities, kaya mabilis siyang na-identify as a gifted learner using the standard assessment. While si student 2 naman is galing sa indigenous community, may pambihirang kakayahanan sa pagsulat at pagsalaysay ng kwento, pero dahil hindi batayan sa pagiging gifted yung pagsalaysay at pagsusulat, hindi agad siya nakilala bilang gifted learner. So, wala siyang access sa mga gifted programs na maaaring makatulong sa pag-enhance ng talent niya. So, kailangan maging inclusive. So, kailangan maging inclusive yung process sa pag-identify ng giftedness ng isang learner. Hindi dapat lang siya nakafocus sa isang uri ng assessment na maaaring hindi angkop sa lahat ng kultura, lahi, or antas ng pamumuhay nga, kasi dapat ding isaalang-alang ang iba't ibang paraan sa pagpapakita ng katalinuhan. At syempre, kailangan natin, nandun na yung word na inclusivity. So, kailangan lahat ng mag-aaral ay may pantay na opportunities para mapabilang dun sa gifted programs. Next, gifted may be domain specific. So, dito naman po is hindi lahat ng gifted learner is magaling sa lahat ng lahat ng field or asignatura. Gaya nga ng sabi ko kanina is giftedness is dynamic, paiba-iba and nagbabago. Hindi lahat ng gifted is magaling academically, kasi merong may other gifted like intellectual, creative, performing, or visual, and the most common nga is yung academic. So, kailangan gumamit ng different assessment or broad assessment na nag-fit sa lahat ng gifted learners. Next, early identification benefits. So, dito naman po is the earlier the recognition, the better development of the talent of the gifted learners. Why? Kasi mas maaga ma-identify as gifted, mas maraming chance or pagkakataon na ma-enhance yung talent nila, mas maaga nilang ma-enhance yung talent, and mas malaki nga yung possibility nilang ma-reach yung full potential nila. For example, may student na mahusay sa science and inventions, maaari siyang mabigyan ng access sa mga advanced science programs and makilahok or sumali sa mga research projects para ma-enhance yung kakayahan niya. So, if hindi agad siya ma-identify as gifted, possible na hindi mapalawak yung kakayahan niya. And worse naman is mawalan ng interest, anything like related sa science and inventions. So, need talaga yung early recognition kasi nakakadagdag siya sa self-esteem ng bata and nagkakaroon pa siya ng maraming opportunity para sa kanya. Next, and last, conclusion. So, overall is ang pinakakailangan ay maging flexible and inclusive lahat ng process sa pag-identify ng giftedness ng isang individual or ng isang learner. Ang early recognition at programs na nagsusupport sa gifted learners is important para ma-reach nila yung full potential nila as a gifted learner. Yun lang po. Thank you po.
Now, let's talk about the underlying principles of effective assessment. This assessment ensures that giftedness is identified fairly, accurately, and in a way that benefits the child's learning. First is the two-stage assessment process. First, they screen a large group, then deeply assess the most promising ones or the most promising student. For example, all students take an aptitude test. The high scorer student takes the full IQ test. Next is measure to match programs. Assessment results should help place students into the right educational programs that fits their needs. For example, enrichment, acceleration, and others. Next is using domain-specific checklist. It means educators use specialized checklist to spot talents in different areas. For example, in math, art, music, leadership, and etc. Next is high ability alone is not giftedness. It means giftedness includes creativity, motivation, and emotional intensity, not just scores or test scores. Next is professional judgment of individual profiles. Professional interpret the whole child, um, including including strengths, weaknesses, behavior, not just the numbers. For example, psychologists may recommend gifted support based on both test results.
Hi everyone, I'm Karen Servagio and my topic is all about the two-stage assessment process that we can use it in identifying gifted and talented students. It helps us as an educator to assess the learner's abilities. Now we can proceed what is assessment first. Assessment means the gathering of information to make critical decision about a child. A variety of methods are used to gather assessment information: observation of the child, interviews with the family, checklists and rating scales, informal tests and standard formal tests. Ibig sabihin, ang assessment method siya or tools na ginagamit natin like us na educator na evaluate and measure the students' academic readiness, learning progress, skill acquisitions, or educational needs. Ito yung assessment is ginagamit natin siya to evaluate or to observe the child uh, if there's an improvement sa behavior or sa skill ng bata. Kaya it is very important to us as educator to assess the child or the learners to their skills. Now we have to proceed in two-stage assessment process. The first stage is the screening or the initial identification, or we can call it selection phase. Dito sineselect natin yung mga bata kung saan siya dapat na skill na ilalagay. Then, a purpose of this is to cast a wide net to identify students who may exhibit giftedness or high potential. Yun nga, sa selection phase na yun, doon natin makikita kung yung bata is may, kung nagpapakita na yung bata ng may giftedness or may high potential sa mga bagay na sa bagay na hindi ginagawa ng that age. That means we look at all the students to see who might have advanced abilities. For example, sa estudyante mo may isa or dalawang estudyante na mataas ang critical thinking. Ibig sabihin, kung sa math problem, mas nasasagutan nung isang bata yung sentence na problem na without the visual, ipinapabasa mo sa kanya yon, nasasagutan niya agad. Ibig sabihin, may potential yung bata na masali as a gifted. Na kasi sa age niya as ibig sabihin sa grade 1, 7 or 6 years old. Sa 7 years old na bata, nakakagawa na siya ng problem without uh, discussing to the teacher, isang tingin niya pa lang sa blackboard, nakukuha niya na agad. Pero sa i-compare mo sa ibang kaklase niya, you have to spoon feed the student. That's why the teachers might use like class performance, observations, or general tests of find students who seems ahead of their peers. And it is important that every student gets a chance in this first stage because we don't want to rely only on grades or teachers' recommendation because sometimes giftedness doesn't work always show in regular school work. Now we have to proceed in methods in the stage one screening or the initial identification or selection phase. The first one is teachers and parents nomination. Dito, utilizing checklists and rating scales to gather observation from educators and family members. Dito, yung parents and yung teacher is have a big role to assess the kid. Kasi sila yung nakakikilala, at saka sila yung nakaka-observe sa school and sa bahay. Then next is yung standardized test scores. Dito din, nare-review din yung result ng assessment. If mataas ba yung IQ niya or sa nagkakaroon siya ng academic achievement. Nakakaroon siya ng academic achievement. Dito, ginagamit yung IQ test and yung academic achievement test. Then din student portfolios. Evaluating collections of students' work that demonstrate advanced skill or creativity. Dito tinitingnan yung bata if ini-evaluate yung bata sa mga bagay na pinapakita niya ng advance sa age niya. Tulad ng sa grade 1, nakakapag-piano na siya or ano pa mga at sa mga ibang at mga advanced skills na nakikreate ng isang bata. These are the another methods, the peer and the self-nomination. This is allowing insights from classmates and self-assessments to identify potential. Dito, binibigyan ng insight yung kaklase or yung estudyante mismo sa sarili niya to identify if it is potential siya dun sa skills na yun. Then yung outcome, a preliminary list of students who exhibit indicators of giftedness and warrant further evaluation. Yung outcome, ito na yung list ng student na nagpapakita ng giftedness and bibigyan pa natin ng another evaluation to make sure na if is a part of the to identify if it's a giftedness of the students. Now we have to proceed in stage 2. It is the in-depth assessment or comprehensive evaluation. The purpose of this is to conduct a thorough analysis to confirm giftedness and understand specific areas of strength. Dito, dinidip na natin yung pag-i-evaluate sa bata if confirming if it is a part of the giftedness or understand natin yung specific area yung ng strength ng isang bata. And this is more detailed assessment. Here, you take a closer look at the student who were flagged in the stage 1. They might take special tests, do problem-solving tasks, or show creative thinking skills. Then, it helps us to understand their strength better. Kaya nga, inaano yung specific strengths ng bata. And whether they're in math, writing, music, or even in leadership. Kasi may iba't ibang strength yung bata na pinapakita to identify if it's a giftedness. And then, this stage helps schools decide what kind or support or programs of the student might need. Dito natin na pinapa dito na nakikita kung anong program ng school ang dapat sa isang estudyante. Now we proceed to the methods of the stage 2, in the in-depth assessment. The first one is individual intelligence test. Administering assessment like the Wechsler Intelligence Scale for Children or WISC to measure cognitive abilities. Dito, gumagamit na tayo ng iba't ibang IQ test. Kita naman natin sa PPT na example yung WISC. Dito, measure na yung intelligence ng bata, yung cognitive abilities niya. Then, yung achievement test, evaluating proficiency in specific subject through tests such as the Screening Assessment for Gifted Elementary and Middle School Student or SAGES. Dito naman sa achievement test, ini-evaluate yung bata na mag-exam sa isang specific na subject. Kung saan siya nagkakaroon o nag-e-excel. Then, creativity assessment. Assessing creative thinking and problem-solving skills. Dito, ina-assess yung pagkakaroon ng creative thinking and pagkakaroon ng problem-solving skills ng bata. Yung creativity mismo ang ina-assess ng teacher para malaman if mas mataas ba ang critical thinking ng bata o yun ang pinaka-strength na yung pag-solve ng problem. This is another method of the stage 2 is the behavioral observation. It's conducting structured observation in various settings to note behaviors indicated of the giftedness. Dito, inobserbahan natin yung behavior ng bata. Then yung interviews, engaging with student, parents, and the teachers to gather qualitative data on interest, motivation, and behaviors. Sa interviews naman dito, ini-engage natin yung students, parents, and the teacher to gather qualitative data kung ano yung mga interest na motivate sa bata at yung behavior ng bata. And then yung outcome is a refined selection of students who qualify for gifted programs accompanied by detailed profiles to inform appropriate educational placement and support. Ang outcome ng stage 2, ito na yung sineselekta yung bata na qualify or na-identify na sa gifted and talented student para mailagay na siya dun sa gifted programs ng schools at para mabigyan siya ng mga educational needs ng bata. Now we have to proceed to the measures to match programs. We are done to the 2 stages of assessment process. Now we have to know the measure to match program in identifying the gifted and talented students. What is the measure to match program? It refers to the process of using assessment, tools, or metrics to evaluate individual needs, skills, or characteristic and then aligning those results with appropriate program or service. Dito daw yung issue to match program, dito ina-assess. Ito yung process ng assessment na kung saan ini-evaluate natin yung needs ng bata if kung ano yung result doon, kung saan natin siya ilalagay na program na para sa kanya. And this approach ensures that individuals are placed in the programs or intervention that best suit their abilities, goals, and areas for development. So, dito din sa match program daw, mamimeasure yung kung saan na program karapat-dapat yung isang bata na ma-enhance mapalawak pa yung mga abilities niya at mabigyan siya ng goals and sa mga area na kailangan niya pang i-develop. Next, we have to move on to the following step to measure and match programs effectively. First is define objectives. Sa lahat naman ng bagay, we have to put objectives to have a program's goals and participant needs. Next is select appropriate metrics. For example, the academic programs. Kung bago natin nilagay yung bata sa academic programs, kailangan natin i-monitor muna yung progress ng bata and gagamit tayo ng standard test scores. And sa leadership programs naman, magagawa tayo ng interviews or i-assess natin yung mga ah, kaklase or kaibigan na i-review if or i-interview if may ay nakikitaan ba yung isang bata na sa pagiging leader or nagkakaroon ng leader simulation. The third step is use valid and reliable tools. Dito, ini-ensure natin na ang ginagamit nating tools sa pagme-measure is validated and reliable. Then, next is collect data. Dito, nagagather tayo ng data to ensure the representative and unbiased. Then next is analyze and interpret result. Use statistical methods or qualitative analysis to interpret the data. Look for patterns that indicate the program's effectiveness. Dapat dito, inaano talaga natin siya, deep. Kasi dito natin nakakaroon ng result kung yung program na ibibigay natin sa kanya is effective. This is the two last methods in the stage 2 of in-depth assessment, the match programs to needs. Based on the analysis, align the programs with the identified needs or goals. For example, if a student excels in a creative thinking, match them with a program that nurture innovation. Sa pag-match ng program to needs ng bata, we need to titingnan natin yung saan nag-e-excel yung creative thinking ng bata. For example, pag sa musical instrument ang mas nag-e-excel yung bata, ibibigay natin siya sa may program na nagtuturo dun para mag-develop sa skills ng bata. Then yung last is the continuous monitoring and feedback. Regularly assesses the program's impact and make adjustment as needed. Dito, kailangan natin even if may naka-ano na sa kanyang program, we need to continuous monitoring and feedback. Kasi because pag a-assess tayo ng poll, may malaking impact dun sa pag-adjust ng needed ng bata. For example, if yung estudyante natin na mainstream sa regular classes, kailangan natin siyang ma-monitor and kung may pagbabago sa skills ng bata o tas feedback ng teacher kung ano pa yung dapat ipa-develop sa kanya at kung saan pa siya kailangan mag-excel. Ayun lang po. That's all my report and thank you po.
Hello everyone, my name is Shane Constantino and I'll be reporting about other considerations. But before that, let us know the definition of contextual. Contextual is an adjective meaning depending on or relating to the circumstances that form the setting for an event, statement, or idea. Ang contextual factor, ito yung sitwasyon or kalagayan ng isang learner na pwedeng makaapekto sa performance niya sa klase o sa assessment. Halimbawa na lamang nito ay yung language barrier. Nahihirapang makaintindi o makapagsalita ng language na ginagamit sa klase. Pangalawa, cultural background. Baka iba ang values o paraan ng pag-aaral sa kultura niya. Pangatlo, learning disabilities. Isa ng halimbawa nito is dyslexia, pati na rin ang ADHD or Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. Kaya sa paggawa ng assessment, dapat i-consider ng guro o ng teacher ang mga factors na ito para maging fair at accessible ang evaluation. Pero syempre, hindi na dapat makompromise ang integrity o quality ng isang assessment. Pangalawa, inclusive. Now let's define what is inclusive. Inclusive is an adjective meaning including or covering all services, facilities, or items that normally expected or required. Ang inclusive assessment practices ay tumutukoy sa pagbibigay ng pantay-pantay na pagkakataon sa lahat ng learners na maipakita ang kanilang skills at understanding nila kahit ano pa ang learning styles, background o kakayahan na mayroon sila. So, halimbawa nito, may isang student na magaling sa written exam, while pero may iba naman na mas magaling mag-express ng knowledge gamit ang oral presentation or di kaya hands-on demonstration. Kaya dapat maging flexible ang assessment methods para lahat ay may chance na mag-excel at may pakita ang kakayahan na mayroon sila. Continuous. Continuous is an adjective meaning forming an unbroken whole without interruption. Ang continuous reflection ay hindi sapat na once lang mag-assess. Dapat ang assessment ay isang continuous process, hindi one-time event. So, from the word itself or from the phrase itself, hindi lang one-time event. Meaning, continuous process siya. Dapat patuloy or tuloy-tuloy. Dapat regular na nagre-reflect ang guro sa ginagamit niyang assessment methods. Kumuha ng feedback sa kanyang mga estudyante, tignan kung may changes or may challenges at i-adjust ang kailangan. Sa ganitong paraan, mas nag-a-align ang assessment sa learning outcome at mas nasusuportahan ang progress ng student. Next one is transparency. Transparency is a noun meaning the quality of being easy to perceive or detect. Napakahalaga ng clear at transparent communication sa assessment process. Ang teacher ay dapat i-explain ng maayos kung ano ang criteria sa grading, ano ang inaasahang output, at paano ito i-evaluate. Isang example na nito ay si Sir Raymond, Ma'am Cha, at Sir Blando at iba pa nating mga guro na gumagamit ng criteria for grading. Bakit nga ba gumagamit ng criteria? Para malaman ng mga guro at ng mga estudyante kung paano, kung saan yung areas for, para maklarify sa student kung saan sila dapat mag-excel and makita kung ano yung criterias para alam nila at malinaw sa kanila. Ayan na nga, sinasabi ko, kapag malinaw ang lahat, mas nababawasan ang kaba at confusion ng mga learners. Alam nila kung paano maghahanda at paano huhusgahan ang gawa nila. Next one. Communication. Communication is a noun meaning the imparting or exchanging of information or news. Ito na po ang pinaka-last, which is ang komunikasyon, bukod sa pag-explain ng criteria tulad na lang ng kanina, ang effective communication ay nangangahulugan din pagbibigay ng timely at helpful feedback. Dito malalaman ng estudyante kung saan sila magaling at saan kailangan pa ng improvement. Maganda ang komunikasyon between sa guro at sa estudyante para mas magkaroon ng kalinawan. At ang malinaw at open na komunikasyon ay nagpapalakas ng tiwala ng student sa teacher at sa buong assessment process. Nagiging credible at fair ito para sa lahat.
I'm Denise Samantha C. Malbas, and I will be discussing equity in gifted and talented. So, equity in education, it is ensuring that all students receive the support that they need to succeed regardless of their background, abilities, and circumstances. In the context of gifted and talented, equity means providing fair opportunities for identifying, nurturing, and supporting gifted students from all demographics, including those underrepresented and disadvantaged groups. So, equity doesn't mean, or equity is not equal to equality. Why? because equity focuses on ensuring that each student receive the specific assistance, tools, and accommodations necessary to overcome their unique challenges and maximize their potential for success, whereas the equality refers to the practice of providing every student with the same resources, opportunities, support regardless of the individual's circumstances or needs. So for instance, there has two students that wants to read a book. One has a perfect eyesight while the other has difficulty seeing the small text. So equality would mean giving both the same book in the standard print, whereas equity would mean giving one student the standard book on a large print version of or an audiobook so both can read comfortably. So the second one is barriers to equity in gifted education. It is a socio-economic challenges. So gifted and talented students from lower socio-economic backgrounds often encounter difficulties such as under-identification for gifted programs due to biases in testing, limited access to enrichment activities like advanced courses or extracurricular programs, and insufficient resources in their schools. So example, a gifted student in low-income community may lack access to high-quality gifted programs, wherein enrichment activities, stable internet for online learning. So this is my example. MJ is a gifted science student who was unable to participate in prestigious science fair because her school lacks the necessary lab equipment and funding support for her research program. That is my example for socioeconomic class. Next is racial and cultural bias. Racial and cultural bias in gifted education means that some students from different races or cultures may not get the same chances to be recognized as gifted. Example, some students like black children are not identified as gifted as often as others because this happens sometimes because teachers may not always recognize their giftedness in different cultures and tests may not be fair to all students. Example, Steven, a bright student, scores low on a standardized test due to culturally biased questions. So, his true ability.
Good morning everyone. Authentic Assessment Introduction. Ang authentic assessment ay sinusukat sa pagtututo ng mga estudyante kaugnay ng mga gawain sa tunay na buhay. Is that not assessed acknowledge of the fact through multiple choice or true or false question. Kundi sinusuri nito ang praktikal na kaalaman at the meaningful application of the learning skills. For example, sa research project, ang research project po ay mga estudyante na iniimbestigahan nila yung kanilang topic at maghahanap sila ng data at analyzing finding. Tapos, i-present nila to and i-present nila yung conclusion. Agad po ba? Another example, academic portfolio, which means that students collect the best work, kabila ang mga essay, mga papel sa research at presentation upang ipakita sa kanila ang process at achievement ng isang batch. Characteristic of authentic assessment. Unang bullets, real-world applications. Ginagamit ang mga estudyante ang kanilang kaalaman sa sitwasyon para nangyari sa tunay na buhay. For example, gumawa ng plano para sa pagtutulong sa mga nasalantang bagyo gamit ang aralin panlipunan. Second bullets, meaningful task is meaning ang mga gawain ay may saysay kaugnayan sa buhay ng mga estudyante, not just activity to increase the grade. For example, magsusulat sila sa tungkol sa personal na karanasan na may kaugnayan sa isang aralin sa klase. Gets? Sa third bullet is it's the focus of performance. mas binibigay ang halaga kung ano ang ginagamit ng estudyante ng kaalaman, hindi lang ang kung ano ang laman nila. For example, ay parte ng isang eksena mula sa isang nobela sa halip na magpa-quiz tungkol dito. Opportunity for reflection and revision. Nahihintulutan ng estudyante na mag-isip tungkol sa kanyang ginawa, tumanggap ng feedback at magbago o mag-ayos sa trabaho. For example, magpasa ng unang draft ng tula, then teachers giving the feedback before submitting the final version. Higher order thinking, 5 bullets. Hinahamon ng mga estudyante na mag-analyze, mag-decision, lumutas ng mga problema at maging malikahin. For example, pagbuo ng solusyon sa isang lipunan, batay sa mga data o research. 6 bullets in direct assessment. Nakikita mismo sa product o gawain ng estudyante na evidence ng kanilang pagtututo. For example, paglikha ng video vlog tungkol sa effect ng climate change bilang project in science. For example, ngayon, super init na. Kaya, minsan, yung kapatid ko, nag-video vlog din siya tungkol dito. Comparison of traditional assessment and authentic assessment. First, traditional assessment is request correct response. Meaning of this, ang estudyante ay hinusga ng batay kung tama o mali kanilang sagot. For example, sa isang multiple choice na pagsusulit sa mathematics kung saan tanging tamang sagot lamang ang binibilang. Sa authentic assessment naman po ay required to high quality product or performance. Meaning of this, ang estudyante ay dapat kagawa ng isang kapay-kapainabang na bagay o magsagawa ng isang skills at high standards. For example, paggawa ng business plan or performing a musical piece. Second, traditional assessment focused on isolated skills. Meaning of this, sinusubukan ang tiyak ng kakayahan ng isang pag-isa-isa na hindi pag-isama mga ito. For example, ang isang pagsusulit ang grammar ng tanging na hinihiling lamang ng estudyante na i-underline ang mga pandiwa. Sa authentic assessment naman po ay integrate various acknowledged skills. And meaning of this, combine subject at kakayanan upang malutas mga komplikadong problema. For example, pag-decision ng isang project sa science na gumagamit ng mathematics or pagsusulat at pag-research. Pangatlo naman po sa traditional assessment is disconnected from real world. At meaning of this, ang mga gawain na hindi nauugay sa mga sitwasyon na toong buhay o practical na paggamit. For example, pag-memorize ng mga petsa, mga dates, o kasi story na hindi naunawaan sa kanilang epekto ng buhay. Authentic assessment naman po ay tied of the real world context. Of meaning of this, ang mga gawain na ginagaya ang mga tunay na buhay o hamon sa buhay. For example, pagsusulat sa liham ng mayor tungkol sa isang lokal na issue. Pang-apat naman po sa traditional assessment is one-time assessment. Of meaning of this ay isang pagkataon lamang ang binibigay sa mga estudyante upang ipakita ang kanilang natutunan. For example, sa isang pagwakas na pagsusulit na natatakdang karamihan ng grados ng kurso. Sa authentic assessment na po, iterative process with feedbacks and revisions. At meaning of this, nakakatanggap sila ng feedback mga estudyante at pinabubuting na kanilang trabaho sa paglipas ng panahon. For example, pagsusulat at pag-revise ng essay batay sa mga komento ng guro at mga kaklase. At ayun lang po, dito lang po nagtatapos.
Good day everyone, I am Carl Cantala and my topic is all about eligibility. Eligibility decision must be based on multiple criteria, which may include scores on valid and reliable tests or assessment tests, and other measure are rank or sum according to the procedure. Establish the division and approve into the local plan. No single criterion shall be used in determining student who qualify for or deny access to programs for the gifted. Yung eligibility kasi is marami siyang criteria na dapat gawin or mga test para matawag ng isang bata ay gifted or talented. Ang first criteria is assessment. Eligibility is typically determined through various assessments such as standard tests, teacher recommendation portfolios, or other methods. Yung assessment kasi is typically na-determine siya through various assessment such as standard tests and yung mga special exam para ma-measure their thinking skills or knowledge compare sa mga student na ka-age nila. Sa teacher recommendation naman is importante rin to kung saan ang mga teacher ang mga nakakakita sa mga students na makita yung mga exceptional talents nila, and sometimes yung student may need ipakita yung mga best work or portfolios like sa writing, art project, and marami pang iba. And next naman is yung next na criteria is academic performance. Eligibility often determined by strong academic records, often above average. Yung academic performance naman is dito naman is yung parang yung mga student na mahusay sa kanilang regular test na gawain sa school na nakakakuha ng higit average sa mga marka are considered gifted programs. And next criteria naman is creative and artistic abilities. Evidence of creative artistic talent such as exceptional performance in music, art, or writing. Dito naman sa creative and artistic abilities, merong mga some student gifted programs na look for student na nagpapakita ng mga exceptional talents. Like for example sa music, sa art, or sa writing. Ang next naman is yung leadership potential. Some programs also concentrate or identifying and enhancing leaderships. Sa leadership naman is dito naman is to aim to find and help students who show signs of being a good leaders. This might involve students who can effectively guide and para ma-motivate yung mga classmates nila. And the last criteria is specific academic fields. Individuals with exceptional abilities in specific academic areas such as sa mathematics or science. Yung sa specific academic fields naman is dito naman if is yung student na nagpapakita ng exceptional talent or a very strong interest and ability sa particular subject like sa math or science like that.
So, good day everyone. My name is Jessie May Enfermo Parungao, and I'm going to report about local eligibility. So, local eligibility, so this means that this local eligibility daw ay isang criteria or requirements na dapat ma-meet ng isang tao or isang bata for them to attain the proper and quality services, pero only within their local government lang, such as their city or their municipalities only. So, here are the criteria for local eligibility. So, we have here the first one, which is intellectual ability, which means that the student should have a high performances or their cognitive potential is high. So, next one is the academic performances, which means that the students should meet the success in some areas or subjects, like magaling sila sa mathematics or sa science. Then next one, which is yung creative or artistic talent. So this only refers sa mga student na may exceptional talent or abilities in such areas like arts, music, or dance. Like for example is painting, like magaling sila mag-visualize ng iba't ibang bagay, then matuturn nila into paintings. So ayan. Then next one, which is yung teachers and observation. Teachers observation and accommodation. So this one is they need to undergo through formal testing or academic records based on data gathered by their teachers. So the last one, which is the parent and peer input. So here naman is binibigyan ng authority ang parents or peers since crucial sila sa isang bata dahil minsan hindi lang naman sa school visible yung iba't ibang potential ng isang bata. So next naman is the assessment and identification process kung saan ina-assess na yung mga bata sa kanilang lugar. And it also have its stages. Next one. So here are the stages of assessing and identification. So first one is yung referral. So this one means po na mas nire-recommend na yung bata na dumaan for further evaluation or testing to determine about his or her gifted situation. The next one is screening and testing kung saan mas malalaman naman kung anong klaseng giftedness yung nag-e-exist within that specific child. So gumagamit din ito ng iba't ibang test like IQ test, WISC or yung WISC test, or minsan ginagamit din yung achievement tests. So next one naman is the selection and placement, wherein nire-review lahat ng gathered data about sa bata na magde-determine if he or she is gifted. Then ipupunta na sila sa appropriate educational setting or services. So yun naman yung tinatawag na placement. So last one naman is about program enrollment, which is the official step where the identified student begins participating in a gifted educational program kung saan sila nilagay.
Ginagawa yung TTCT with words or pictures, and nakaka-help yun to identify students na hindi nag-stand out sa regular classroom work pero may strong creative abilities. Next one is we also have leadership and social skills. May mga gifted students na good leaders. May mga students na alam nila kung paano mag-guide sa iba, kung paano gumawa ng smart decisions, kung paano makakapag-work na maayos in a group setting, mga ganon. Yung mga schools is nag-check sila kung paano yung student is paano nag-behave yung students with her classmates or kahit sa peers. Kung paano nila sinosolve yung mga problema and kung gaano sila ka-confident kapag nagli-lead sila ng mga activities. Next method is through teacher, parent, and peer nominations. Yung mga teacher is nanonotice nila yung students na mabilis matuto. Yung nagtatanong sila ng deep questions or nagpapakita ng interest sa certain subjects. Yung mga parents naman is may big part din kasi sila yung nag-o-observe dun sa mga anak nila sa loob ng bahay nila and sinishare nila sa teacher kung ano yung nanonotice nila sa anak nila. Also, nag-research ako and nabasa ko na sa ibang schools, yung mga classmates nila is pwede din silang mag-nominate ng tao na they think is gifted. Yung nominations na yon is nagbibigay ng chances para ma-identify yung gifted students from different backgrounds. Also, special talent areas is important. May mga students na hindi sila consider as gifted pagdating sa academics, pero nagsha-shine sila or nag-stand out sila pagdating sa areas, kunyari, sports, dance, music, drama, or technology. Instead of written test, yung mga students na to is yung mga students na to is tinatanong sila ng mga teachers nila kung pwede ba nilang ipakita yung talents nila
through auditions, performances, or competitions. Now, let's talk about the challenges in gifted identification. One challenge is that every country is gumagamit sila ng different rules. Yung student na gifted sa isang country is pwedeng hindi siya nakikita as gifted dun sa isang country. Mahirap yon kasi hindi nagkakaroon ng one global standard. Another challenge is cultural and economic barriers. Kasi may mga students na nanggaling sila sa ibang backgrounds, whereas wala silang access sa same resources or learning opportunities. Kahit na gifted sila, hindi sila nakakapag-perform ng maayos sa mga tests or hindi sila agad nanonotice dahil sa barrier na yon. Lastly, may mga gifted students na meron ding disabilities. Yung mga students na yon is sometimes tinatawag sila na twice exceptional. Yung disabilities na meron sila is pwedeng maging reason for them to hide their talent. So, yung schools is pwedeng hindi ma-recognize sila as gifted unless binibigyan sila ng proper support. In conclusion, identifying gifted and talented students is important para makareceive yung mga students ng help and challenges na kailangan nila to reach their full potential. May mga countries na gumagamit ng different methods but all of them naman is nag-i-aim na mabigyan yung mga special learners or gifted learners ng right opportunities para mas mag-grow sila. Yun lang. Thank you.